Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to my panel. I asked people on my Instagram what people would like to see, and they're interested in my process for how I do prints and also the history of my brand and what's coming up in the future. So we'll see how much we can get in through. I have a lot of dresses and items and pictures over here, and we'll see what we can do. So to start out, I want to talk about the process of how I start with a design. I'm going to go through the bee print, the royal bee print, because that's my most recent one, and that's the one I could find enough images of the process for. So to begin with, I start with an idea, and the idea it's often something that I like or I have an interest in. This particularly, my parents keep bees as a hobby. And so I've always been afraid of bees. I was badly stung as a child on my face, but I've gotten over it through them keeping bees. And I just find the themes and subjects of bees really interesting. The queen, honey, they're aggressive, they're insectoidal, they're just interesting. So I started with an idea where I did sketches. So this is one of the original sketches of the queen bee. And I sketched, let me hold that up a bit longer so you can see it. I sketched it out, and usually I don't do any like really rough preliminary sketches. I'll just try to get what I have the idea out on paper for the first time. And often it works out, and sometimes it doesn't, and I have to rework, but it does not like rework because it's a rough sketch, just because I think it needs more work. And then I'll go in with watercolors. Here is the same sketch done with watercolors on a watercolor paper. I don't use any fancy special watercolors. I'm kind of cheap. I probably should get some nice ones. I'm not the world's best artist. I do enough work. I do well enough work for what I do. There are much better artists out there than me. And I don't really have a picture of the process of the watercolors for the bees, but here is some pins I've been working on, some art for pins that are poisonous flower pins. You can sort of see how I do the watercolors. I almost work with them more like they're markers or ink than like a wash and then several washes. I usually block out colors and then go in with a fine point and details. Why I like the watercolors is they're less expensive than markers, and there's more variety of color. Oh, have you ever considered selling prints? I have. That's an interesting idea. I don't know how many people would be interested in it, but it'd be something I'm willing to explore. Or I thought of tote bags and t-shirts, because my art would work pretty well with those too. And that's something I can make to be drop shipped to me, and I don't have to make them. So just to sort of finalize it, or to continue, here is one of the, another one of the images, which is a bee skep. This probably took the longest because of shading all of the basket work. As you can see, I've outlined all of the image with the dark blue color that I then later used. This is something I do, not with all prints, but if it's a dark color, just so that when I go in digitally, I can easily blend it in with the background color with the artwork. And then we have this is again the symbolism of the sweet and the martial and the royal all together in sort of a crest image. And then the bee, or the honey right here. It was a challenge to the transparency. I'll be doing a print that's all jars later like this, and so I'm kind of glad that I got a little bit of a test, a little bit of practice. And then finally, these are some pieces that went in and were fillers. This is the honeysuckle, which is used to break up the print and sort of to turn it into an all-over print. My mother, who I showed the art to, one of my parents, my mother and my father, who are beekeepers, keeps informing me that bees don't go to honeysuckle, even though they're called honeysuckle and it's not the right flower to put in the print. But I think honeysuckle works, and I like how it flows. It's a vine. It works with the print. And it's honeysuckle. It's also pink honeysuckle to exist, and I don't like doing like colors of flowers that don't exist just because they like work with the print. So then I scan them, and I have a big image on paint.net because, again, I don't use any expensive programs because I'm bad about that. And I do layers, and I work out how I want the print to go. So I figure out the repeating, and then I go in and carefully with like a round brush tool fill in everywhere that's supposed to be the background color. So that takes the longest. And then I make sure it's a repeating print, and I send it to my printers. So this is the dress completed. This is actually the first printing. This is what I showed at Otakon and at Paradiso. This is a Georgette. The actual dresses I had made for my customers, and they're in progress because we had some trouble with the color printing, is on a peach. It's not a Georgette. It's another thin polyester fabric that has a nice hand, but it's not so transparent. I actually like that better. It's just because my new fabric printers don't carry the Georgette. But it has a nice lightweight hand. And you can see how the watercolors ended up on the fabric. So that's the closest I explained to my process. Perhaps sometime I'll have to do a live stream of me watercoloring. I have to figure that out. But yeah, it's sketch, watercolors, scan, edit into the file, and then all the airbrushing. I was very bad with some of my previous prints where I did the background color as the same layer as the artwork. So when I need to edit the color and do another colorway, it's a lot of work. I've gotten better about that. That was a mistake. So in terms of, I want to talk a bit about and if anyone have any questions about how I describe my process, please let me know. I'll be going into a bit more when I've talked about the history, because each one has different inspirations and different issues I had. I'll show you where I did original sketches, and I even did a watercolors, and I wasn't happy with it, so I redid it, or I redid the entire print. I have here, I went into a deep dive on my laptop of the history of my brand, because I couldn't remember, and apparently there's some things I forgot about because I found out about them again through my computer. So the first print I did, which I don't have, I have the skirt somewhere. But the first line I did, I have the skirt somewhere, but I don't know where, was in 2007, and it was called Keys to the Kingdom. You can see that. It was done, it was a screen print of a castle print, very inspired by Moitié and their Iron Gate print. So it was screen print onto fabric. A friend of mine had a screen printing set up, and we were like, oh yeah, this will work, this will be great. And then the continuous print, they'd never done before, but there's assumption of like, that should be easy, and it wasn't. It was a nightmare. But everyone who ordered them got their skirts eventually. We worked that out. It just was a little bit of a hassle. Here's a little extra. Here is baby me, how many, 13 years ago, modeling the skirt. Yep. And then to continue, a year later, I did an unnamed pirate print and a unnamed Cinderella print, both screen prints. So I did the art, and then I digitally edited them, and then we put them on the screens. I don't remember how that worked, and then exposed them to sunlight, and that's how the screens are made. So that's how I did these prints. So this is the unnamed nautical print. And here's a close-up of the artwork. I'm using my tablet because I'm not the most tech savvy of people. So these were shown at Otakon 2008, where I did a fashion show there with a bunch of other designers. We had a good turnout. It was very nice. So here's the Cinderella print. Neither of these were released. They were just made for the event and then later sold to people. You can see the lace I used for the Cinderella print and it's the same for the Keys of the Kingdom print because I bought a huge amount and ended up using it for both. So then we get to my first actual print that I did, which was Victorian cookbook. So we started the era of Spoonflower, started making fabric and other fabric printing companies. This was not with Spoonflower. I did this with another company. I don't remember. So this is the artwork. Unlike current artwork, it's done with markers. So it's a bit more cartoony. It's a bit more bright, a little more neon. So we have several different puddings here. It was inspired by the illustrations from Miss Beaton's Book of Household Management. If you ever look it up, you can find they have this beautiful artwork of the desserts and other foods, very elaborate looking. Oh, and here is the text that accompanies it. Whenever I do text like this, what I pretty much do is print out a font that I like and then go over it because I'm terrible at drawing letters. So I actually do have that dress here. It was done, so only the bottom is printed because printing fabric was a lot more expensive then, and I was starting out and I didn't have a lot of money to work with. And then this fabric came from Joann Fabrics. It was in the nursery section and came in several different colors, the stripes, and I thought it was something they just regularly had. But it turns out it was a seasonal thing, and when I needed to go back and get more, they didn't have it. So I had to actually go to several different Joann Fabrics in the area to find enough to fulfill my orders. That was a learning process, and you'll see that there's been a lot of those over the years. So after that, I did Sweet Matryoshka, which people have been asking me if I'm going to redo at some point, and I have to admit I'm pretty tempted. I really like this print, although I'm not happy with the artwork. It's really cartoony. Works with the theme, but not my preference. It was also done with markers. I think this is the first instance of mushrooms appearing in my work, which, as you know, is very popular with me. And then the sort of scatter print for it. Oh, the other thing about the Victorian cookbook, you notice the bottom fabric was sort of tinted yellow. It wasn't like that originally. Somehow, whatever they used to print it aged and really turned yellow and just won't come out. It's very, very odd. I'm not sure why that is, but I don't use that fabric printer anymore, clearly. I think at this point I had switched to Spoonflower. So here is the dress. The bodice is different than the original one. The original one had like red, sort of like blocks of color here that I had done with solid red fabric. It looked cute, but it wasn't very versatile for wearing. So when I got a chance, I did redo this. I did redo the bodice for mine. So it's a pretty cute print, a pretty cute dress. I like the use of the rickrack there. I'm sorry I say so much. Trying to speak more clearly. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, this dress has, over the years, this problem with the white dress, has stained. And because at that point, Spoonflower hadn't really gotten their prints to be really color fast, I'm kind of afraid to wash it at this point. So that was 2011. And then in 2011 as well, so I did 2 releases this year. I was still making all these clothes, and I wasn't making many per piece. I can't believe I did 2 releases in a year. Let's hope we can get to that again. So this was, I got an embroidery machine, and this was an embroidered dress. Seersucker, a nautical style. I still wear this dress occasionally, but I do really like this. The embroidery was fun, although I had to babysit the machine all the time, which was a little difficult. And then here's the artwork for it. This, unlike the other ones where, you know, I turned it into a print, this was, I needed to digitize it as embroidery, which took a while, its own interesting thing. So there's the hippocampus for it. And then the anchor that was going to be mirrored. So I only drew one half. And then this was one of those ones where I did extra artwork that I didn't end up using. I had a mermaid as well that I was thinking of using, but I just decided to stick with the hippocampus because it just seemed better, but also I wasn't sure about how much people would want a bare-breasted woman on their dress. So then we get to what probably you guys are familiar to you guys, which would be Forrest the Unicorn, the first version. Forrest the Unicorn with the first version was brown, largely. I also offered an ivory, which no one bought, and a blue, but not a dark blue. It probably would have worked better with dark blue, but it was more of a brighter blue. So as you notice, if you're familiar with my dark blue version, the print is very small. For some reason, I just didn't make it very big. When I redid it, I made it much larger. The problem I had with this fabric was that it's a cotton, and sometimes you have problems depending on how they're printing with cottons. And it like crocked when I washed it. Like it got kind of like like jeans do when you wash them in a washing machine. The natural dyes kind of rub against each other and you get these sort of vague white lines. And I did have that problem with that fabric, and that's why I stopped working with that fabric printer. So I have a lot of artwork for Forrest the Unicorn. First off, I'll show you this. Originally, at the bottom, it was going to have these maidens with the unicorns, and they were supposed to symbolize the 4 cardinal virtues. The first one is fortitude, this is temperance, and this is prudence here. And this one particularly was just based on the unicorn tapestries. That was my inspiration, the unicorn tapestries. And I did the watercolors for them, and this will be a continuing theme with some of the prints, was that I wasn't great. I'm not great at doing people. I did people for years, but my main strengths are vegetables, fruits, sometimes animals, physical objects. And so when I put it together, it just didn't look good. So I decided to scrap the idea of doing the people. These are some additional art I did. Those are the sketches. There's more sketches. So these are animals and flowers. And more of the flowers. And then here are the flowers watercolored. As you can see, only the rose is filled in. It has the outline. Oh, the rose and the violet. That's because I did all these flowers, and when I went to make the print, I only actually ended up using these 2. The same with the animals. I only ended up using the rabbit. So sometimes I do a lot of work that doesn't end up getting used. So to replace the ladies, I did these. Oh, feel free to ask questions, by the way. I know I'm like talking a mile a minute, and I'm trying to keep an eye when questions come up, but I will try to answer any questions you have. So I ended up doing a lion and the unicorn, and then trees. And the inspiration for this was William Morris prints. So I decided, I was so frustrated with not being happy with how the print was going that I ended up just sort of like going around the internet, like, what can I make? And looking at tapestries. And this William Morris fabric came up where they have the repeating images of the animals around the trees, around the flowers, and I thought that was so cool that I ended up using that. And then I ended up having to do more flowers in a different shape in order to get it to work. So it says JG Jenna asked how long did it take sketch to dress in hand? A couple months. I'm bad about this. I should work early and then get things done, and then like I could be really relaxed about it, but I'm not. It's always like, oh, I have a fashion show coming up and I need to have new things. I have this idea, I guess I need to do it now. So it's often kind of a crazy rush. So it can, from sketch to dress, it can take a couple months, or it can take a year if I do sketches and I sort of set it aside and then I play with the watercolors. So it varies, but the quickest would be several months. So then we get into a weird time where, so then I did my only release that was just a fabric release, was nothing printed, and it was a pastel rainbow or black stripe dress where I did these chevrons. I thought it was really cool, and I thought they'd be like really versatile, like can use for anything. Like if you're a sweet Lolita, you can just wear this with anything because it has all those colors in it. And it didn't sell excellently. I get it, people weren't terribly interested in it. I think it's cute. We also, at the time, Deer Stalker Pictures was very popular, and they were doing the videos with Hanuli, and we did a promotional video for that dress, which was very fun, and we confused a lot of people when we were running through the woods to do it. It didn't get many views on YouTube, and frankly, I'm kind of happy about that now because I feel really awkward about it. But if you found it, I hope you enjoyed it. So after that, I went to try go back to prints, and if you were in the, if you watched the designer panel, I said that I really wanted someone to do a print of the 12 Dancing Princesses because it's one of my favorite fairy tales. So once again, what's your favorite cotton supplier? Who has the truest colors? Oh gosh, I guess primarily I'll use Kaufman is what I'll use for cotton because they have a large selection of them, and I have a swatch card for Kaufman. But largely, I just sort of use what makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Like my own personal dresses, I often will buy fabric really cheap somewhere and then make a dress out of it. And sometimes it turns out great, and sometimes it's kind of a wreck. But in terms of my dresses, because I found a good fabric supplier that's less expensive, more and more I can do dresses with where the bodice is the same, like it's also printed. So I'm not really working with cotton suppliers as much. So in 2012 was the first version of Forest Unicorn. Then 2013 was more Mirror Mirror. Then 2013 I did a print that I called The Secret Ball, which I never produced. I did 2 versions of it and I never made it. Oh wait, I forgot to show something on here. Oh, here's a still from the video we did, the promotional video. We've put up a big frame in the woods and confused a lot of dog walkers and joggers for it. So for that, I did several different artwork pieces of 12 girls. These are 3 of them dancing. The art is fine, but the watercolor version didn't turn out very well. So here is, oh, it's really terrible. Here is a image of the fabric print. I was trying to figure out how to do a watercolor background and just have it work without having to blend it into a solid thing, and it was not working. I wasn't happy with that. I had that printed. I made a dress out of it. Do you watercolor original or do you make copy to color? I watercolor my original drawings. I just, oh no, no, I don't watercolor my original drawings. Usually I'll photocopy them because I usually draw on like printer paper. I photocopy them, I do a graphite transfer, and then I do a graphite transfer onto watercolor paper. Because I don't want to sketch directly on watercolor paper. I erase a lot. I draw very heavy. I'm not one of those people who are good at drawing like little light sketches. No, it's a mess. I like graphite all over my hands. So I wasn't happy with that. So I tried it again, and I did this sketch of these tree frames. I still think they're pretty cool. They're like Art Nouveau style. Maybe they'll appear in some other print. And then I did another attempt at it with sort of brown outlines of the girls. And frankly, I wasn't happy with that as well. So it never got made. I don't know if I'm ever going to revisit it. Here's it on the skirt. Again, it's the same lace. The same lace as the Keys to the Kingdom dress skirts, because I still had lots of that lace left. I don't think I do anymore. So then we get to like what I would consider modern era Lily of the Valley. This is all like weird old stuff. So modern era Lily of the Valley, 2015, second release of Forest the Unicorn. I'm very happy with this. It was printed on the Georgette. It's a dark navy blue solid color bodice. I put these grommets in. I did all the grommets by hand because this was the last line I did entirely of my own work. I'm working with a seamstress now. She's much better at sewing than me, and I think it's a good thing overall. It has this really cute, I don't know if you can see it, like scallop detail bodice that I want to do again at some point. I am planning on doing Forest the Unicorn again. In fact, one of the things I was going to show at the Purgatorio fashion show was a purple version of the Forest the Unicorn with a velvet bodice. It was going to be a special order strictly for Paradiso. So that will happen when Paradiso happens. A little preview there. So finally, other than the bee print, which I showed you, I have, again, a weird piling over here of just stuff I'm throwing about. So we have the mushroom dress. The mushroom dress is probably one of the works I'm most happy with. My inspiration at the time was that I had just gotten like my first smartphone. It's like I was slow to that. And I decided to download a bunch of nature apps, and one of them was a mushroom app, and I just became obsessed. I became obsessed with finding mushrooms and identifying mushrooms and taking pictures of them. And anyone can tell you I'm still kind of obsessed about that. So I got really excited and decided to do a mushroom print. The sketching and the watercolors I did while I was up at my family's cabin up in Canada. And here they are. It's interesting looking at them now because they're a lot paler. I don't have any original sketches. They're a lot paler than anything I do now. And in fact, when I printed them, I did a second layer and like did multiplicity. So I think that's what it's called, so that they would darken up. So I also did these as a tight print, which like on stockings, which I liked, but I haven't found a reliable tight printer. They decided to stop carrying tights, and I wasn't really happy with their printing once they switched person who owned the company. So we have the Brown Sugar Milky, the inky cap. This one is a pinwheel marasmias, which was the first mushroom I successfully identified. I know he doesn't. There's then not much in terms of that. I am going to have some influence on the Forest Unicorn, the new version with the velvet bodice. I am going to be doing a dark purple matching trim that's a like one of those embroidered twill tapes, sort of similar to a Renaissance trim. And it will be done in like those sort of, if you've seen a Renaissance bodice, they often have these sort of trims that sort of do a V here. And it will have that sort of trim like that and sort of seaming kind of like a corset. So that's the closest I can think to that. I haven't done much historical sewing is not something that works very well on a larger scale, unfortunately. So then we have the other ones, the Flyagic, which I never know if I'm pronouncing right. The Chanterelle and the Shaggy Mane, which is actually the same, is also an inky cap. And then the same sort of thing as with the names are escaping me right now. The Victorian cookbook print, I printed out some text that I like and redid it. And this was done with marker. That was done with watercolor. And then it's interesting, you can see how my styles change over years. Recently, past couple of years, recently, I did some pins and I redid the art and I sort of closed some gaps that the original art had so it worked better as a pin. And it's just, the art is very different. It's a lot heavier, I guess, a lot bolder in color. I've gotten much more, I don't know, a tome sort of style. I don't, it doesn't look that different. How do I find the printers you've worked with? By searching fabric printing on demand and then reading reviews and checking prices. I've gone through 4 fabric printers. 4, yeah, 4, 5, I don't know. And I've had difficulties with them, quality or stuff like that. I'm very happy with my current fabric printer. They're matching colors. We figured out a way to match colors correctly now. That's what sort of made the bee print a problem, where the original fabric is printed by a previous fabric printer, so that when I had the new fabric printer print them, I thought I had directed how to do the colors correctly, and the navy blue ended up turning like a blue-green. It's a really pretty color. I'll be sewing some dresses with that at some point because I have a lot of it. But then we worked out that I could send them swatches and they could match colors of swatches, and they did that very well, and I'm very happy with that. So fingers crossed, this will be the last fabric printer I ever work with because I'm very happy with their work. Their prices are great. They're quick and efficient. So that concludes the current, how I do my process and the history. Now we get into ideas, future ideas, and also what I'm going to be doing in the future. So let's get down to very quick, like will be soon, next week. This is the result of one of those mishaps with the fabric printers, but it actually turned out very pretty, I think. It is the mushroom fabric, but it's like a butter yellow. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like a soft butter yellow. It was supposed to be ivory for the Paradiso dresses, and it turned yellow. We got it reprinted, we got it ivory, people got their dresses. I have lots of yellow. So I was thinking for the Ursa Major event next week, I will be releasing a small amount of mushroom skirts in the butter yellow and black, because I don't have a lot of green left over, but I have quite a bit of that. When I print with cotton, I have to get 30 yards. So it ends up being a whole bunch. If I'm printing with a synthetic, then I can do like 3 to, however many I need. So after that, I am planning on doing a re-release of the bee dresses. My seamstress now has the fabric. She has the lace. I had some trouble with the lace because they didn't carry it in the color I needed anymore, so I had to dye it. Anyway, seamstress has it. She's working. We've worked out how to do it within this, our current situation. And so those will be getting to my customers soon, which means my work chart will be clear and I can do another release. So another release of the bees print is next. I'm making a mushroom print cardigan like what you currently went. Actually, it's funny it says mushroom. It's cherries. It's an anthropology cardigan that has cherries printed on it. I'd love to do cardigans or things like that, but I really at this point don't know how to get the resources to do that. So if anyone has any leads for me to talk to producers who would do cardigans, I would love that. But currently I have ideas. I think they'd be really cute, but currently I just don't have the means to do that. So let's go a little quicker through this because I'm starting to run out of time. So the next one will be after that, after the re-release of the bee dress and the mushroom skirts, will be the herb dress, which if you were at Paradiso last year, you remembered me showing it. And what I showed, I was not terribly happy with. I don't know why it's not showing up. But anyway, I wasn't happy with how it turned out. So here's some of the original artwork. It's very small. And because it was small, it had to be blown up, had to be made bigger. And it ended up just looking blobby and bad. So I completely redid the artwork, bigger, more consistent color tone. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. And I did get the fabric from my printer. It is a cotton, so there's quite a bit of it. It's like a lightweight cotton, like a lawn, and it has sort of a slight weave to it, which I'm holding it upside down. So this is the blue-green colorway. And I just think it came out really nicely. And let's see, can I unfold it in such a way that I can show the gray colorway? Not easily. But anyway, this is the gray here. So you can see the difference in tone. There's the blue and then the gray. And my pile of art is spilling. So I also have been working on, and this is what I would have shown at Paradiso, was a lemon print. Everyone loves my lemon dress that I wore last year at Paradiso, but the fabric I made with it was a nightmare. It it bled everywhere. It would not. I couldn't get the bias to fall out properly. And so everyone really wants a lemon dress. So I'm going to do a lemon dress. It's going to be navy blue. Well, not navy blue, like more of a bright blue. Release only purple velvet. Yes, I do plan on re-releasing Forest the Unicorn in black and navy again with a velvet bodice. It's just the purple, the darker eggplant purple I'm going to do was going to be specific to Paradiso. And that's what I'm going to do with future events, is I'm going to be doing special colorways of previous prints. Like I did the ivory mushrooms for Paradiso last year. So this was the sketches for the lemon print. I'm not really happy with them. They're kind of cumbersome. So it's going to be navy blue background, or like, I'm pretty happy with how this one looks. Navy blue background or a sort of dusty pink background, or the two colorways, and they're going to be, so it's going to be like lemons and lemon leaves and lemon flowers, and then these sort of white eyelet bows. Now I think rather than doing these clusters, I'm going to be doing smaller clusters, and the bows will be separate themselves. They won't be attached to the sort of motifs. Not sure what I'm going to do with these now. Maybe just watercolor them for no reason. Then I have this weird print that I did the artwork for years and years ago, which is a bird's nest print with birds. So we have the bird's nest, and then we have this motif with birds, and they're sort of like robins, and they're sort of sitting on a ribbon, and then we have the ribbon. So the idea was it would go like ribbon bird, bird's nest. Again, repeating like a stripe. And I like it, although now I'm sort of feeling like the artwork is a little clumsy. So I'm thinking maybe of redoing them. Although I'm not sure I really want to redo that nest, because it took a long time to paint that. Other ideas are, I did this sketch, one sketch out of 4 so far. It is one of my favorite flowers, bleeding hearts, and it's going to be a language of flowers print. So it's going to be bleeding hearts, lily of the valley, of course, violets, and forget-me-nots. So it'll be purple, pink, white, and blue, like a light blue. And you probably can't read it on there, but it says bleeding hearts on the ribbon, and then it says unrequited love. So the ribbons that tie each sort of motif will have that on it. And then I might have a scatter print above of little vignettes of the individual flowers. So I've only done 1 out of 4 sketches of that so far. And then in terms of showing things, this is artwork I did for a local farm that's run by a friend of mine, Krantz Hill Farm, and he wanted a new bag. And I did this, and if you've gone to my website, you'll know that I also offered some of these motifs as pins, which I think are really cute. And one of the pins, I wear my own artwork as pins all the time. One of the pins I wear most often is this radish bunch here. I love it. I love it so much. And then this Easter, I put together an outfit which had a carrot corsage for Easter. It was like a rabbit idea, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I love the idea of a root vegetable print. So it would be similar to the herb print in that it would be hanging clusters. So it'd be a hanging cluster of carrots, maybe with some purple and white ones added, a hanging cluster of radishes, and a hanging cluster of turnips, which are pretty. Turnips, they can be so pretty. They're like purple. Look at that. Oh, so pretty. And then, so to be hanging bunch, hanging bunch, hanging bunch, and then there'll be a brown rabbit that's the same size as the bunches, sort of on at the side, kind of going this. See how rabbits stand up and they do that? And I just think that's gonna be so cute. And then it'll be repeating around the skirt like the herb print. I'm thinking like a dusty tan, or like a soft teal as the background with polka dots, like very subtle polka dots, very otome in style. And I'm really excited about that. I haven't done the artwork for that, but I'm super excited. Any questions at all? I've sort of run through stuff. I have a couple like other print ideas, but I don't have any art to show you. The other print ideas that I have, and I'll look at for questions popping up on the screen, is people seem to really love this fruit label dress I made with it's John Fabric's print I got years ago, and it's so cute. I always get compliments from like everyone, no matter whether they are interested in know about Lolita at all, when I wear it, because I wear these sort of things daily if I'm not wearing weird pants and jumpsuits. And I think that's fun. How do I just give you my entire wall for all these dresses? You have to be patient because I take a long time to do things. I'm trying to speed things up here. Are all your designs seem fairly classic? Do you have anything very sweet or gothic? No. I mean, I could say that the black mushrooms could be styled gothic. But it's not really my style so much. When you say new flower print would come, when did you say new flower print come out? Bleeding Heart's my favorite. They are one of my favorite. They were my favorite flavor of flower? Flower as a child as well. Now I love Lily of the Valley, but they have a special place in my heart. I don't have a plan for them when that will come out. I am terrible in coming up with designs and then releasing it like 4 years later. So, but I'm hoping that I'm able to, my plan is to hopefully ramp up production as much as possible. My timing is not great. So my plan is to get better about timing and hopefully get releases out quicker, so then I can transition from not doing the Etsy store so much, not doing the custom stuff so much, because it does take quite a bit of time, and then focus more on prints and releases. But that's like, can I make that economically feasible? I hope so. I'll still do, like occasionally we'll open like, oh, it's almost Halloween, let's do some custom witch hats, but I would really like to focus on the prints. So this print, I'm thinking of doing like a jam print, so it'll be jam jars like I was talking about with the honey jars. It's going to be jam jars, and it's going to be different wild berry jams rather than like a standard cherry, strawberry, It's going to be like cloudberry, bilberry. I have something written somewhere where I listed all the ones that I was going to do, but it's going to be all wild berries, and they're going to have the jam jars and then little vignettes of the wild berries on the jars, or maybe sitting next to the jars with like labels. I'm not exactly sure, but it's going to be a repetitive print, and it's going to have that same sort of collar here. So yeah, my influence, I do mostly classic. That could be styled sweet, and I think some of the things could also be styled Gothic, like maybe the mushroom print in black could be Gothic. The forest unicorn in black might be able to be styled Gothic. Maybe. I'm sure you could do the gray herbs in sort of a witchy way, which I don't know how goth that would turn out. But yeah, my tastes don't run in that venue. And there's actually a lot of designers, indie designers, who do Gothic things. Like if you want like really nice Gothic stuff, like Moss Badger, excellent. She does wonderful Gothic stuff, beautiful work. And then finally, it's another one of those ones where it's a dress I made years ago. I made it from fabric that I bought, and now I kind of want to see if I can do my own interpretation of it. I don't know how easy it is to see this print on camera, but it's like I call it my china cabinet skirt, and the fabric is an upholstery print that just basically looks like a china cabinet, and it's really fun. And I made this dress for years on my Etsy for people. I even ended up buying like a whole bolt of this fabric, but it's not available anymore. I have maybe enough to make one more dress. So I'm thinking, why not make my own rendition of it? You know, not copy it, but do my own rendition of it. So that's another idea. Revisit the Matryoshka print maybe, but a lot of these things are like pipe dreams in the future. I don't know when. Okay. Any more questions? I hope you enjoyed my rambling. I'm sorry I said so much and forgot the names of my own prints, which are just thrown on my bed over there. Well, thank you so much all for coming. I don't know how this works if I run out of material before we run out of time. What else can I?
You are good, Tyler. We are actually at 6:05. The next.
We're at 6:05. Good, excellent. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and watching me be awkward on camera. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you who can attend when Paradiso happens again. Bye.